experience.
Man.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the author's Quill. As you've seen, click, like, do the whole 9 yards. To everybody who was asking last week, and I wasn't sure, but there are available now about 200 archives on the members only section now on YouTube. By the end of next week, there'll be about 1,100. So I think it's $6.99 a month for that, and for the small membership for the polls, all that's like $1.99 or something. So just something for the other go out there. My manager says she'd like to get a paycheck every 200 years or so. Just something to know we love her. That's all. It's but anyway, we got a good night tonight, or good afternoon, I should say, because we're not really in a night these days. And for everybody I've been seeing around the world, keep it up. I mean, I have been. If you can hear my voice is about gone. I was Thursday in Mississippi State doing a lecture on this Charlie Kirk thing, and then I was back Friday for like 5 hours, and then I had to do my show last night, and then they flew me back in from Mississippi State to the house like at 2 hours before it's time to do this show. And when I'm done with this, and I still got another 3.5 hour show after this one, so we'll just call it the whirlwind and leave it at that. But anyway, it's great to see you again, Patrick. What have you been up to? You've been staying out of trouble. It don't sound like you've been up to some stuff.
Mostly. Oh boy. Well, let's see. Over the summer, I took the lessons I learned at the Writers of the Future workshop, where they have us do this 24-hour story that I think I talked about that last time I was with you guys. Is full of coffee and tea, and I'm up late and I'm half asleep writing a story. And I took that and I wrote a novel in 3 weeks. It was about 95,000 words, and it's far from complete. But to actually have a completed first draft and then to go from there, and now I'm looking at comparative titles, and I've been reading all kinds of novels. Apparently, fantasy thief stories are back, which is great because I wrote one. So
what's it called? A what?
Well, it's a fantasy thief story. So
what's the second word?
A thief, like a person who steals things.
Okay, good. Like Robert Jordan's.
A little bit, yeah. Must be my Canadian accent there.
No, I can hear you fine.
Toronto.
No, you was good. You was good. I think it was just the way it was coming across. It's so well, you got to tell me a little bit about it. You can't tell me everything, but you got to tell me something.
Well, yeah, it's a young man who his father is smuggling some goods into this town, and they're magical goods, and his father gets caught, of course, and he's executed in a very medieval way, and the kid sees it, he gets traumatized, his whole family is messed up. He happens to be from a race of half-elves as well, so they're kind of telepathic. So to see something like that, they're especially traumatized, and he goes through the whole journey to, I'm going to be the greatest thief who ever lived. And am I going to steal for power or steal for my people? And, maybe he finds a moral compass along the way. And it was just fun writing it. I just sat down and I hammered it out. It took me about 3 or 4 weeks to do the first draft because I've been working on this fantasy world for years, and first draft is done. And I have to go back and fix it up. I'm not one of those authors who can just write something and send it off. I'm not there yet, but just to be able to do that is incredible. To know that if I have a story in my head, I can get that initial thing on paper, and that's what this contest has really allowed me to do. It's led me to that. Just the discipline of sitting there and you're not going away until you finish this particular chapter, scene, whatever. You're going to do 4,000 words today. I was doing about 4,500 words a day, which I was even passing Sanderson briefly. I mean, he's ahead of me now, but to be able to do that is fantastic. And
that's awesome, man.
I'm still learning my way. So there's a lot of rough edges I have to polish up, but that's the process. And that's just one of the things I've been doing. Oh boy, all the podcasts, all talking to people, book signings. I had a book signing locally back in August. This Cole's Indigo bookstore, which for Americans, that's roughly the equivalent to Barnes and Noble here in Canada. And I remember going there, seemed like every Christmas season, we would go there shopping and we go all through there. It was just part of, growing up, our annual trip to this mall, go into Cole's Indigo, and there I am with Mark Leslie doing a book signing, and all these people are coming in. Yeah, sure, I'll sign that for you. And it's such a ride. I feel like I'm running out of words to describe it, which I feel bad because I'm a writer. I should be able to do that. But you've won a ticket to Disney World, to your ultimate vacation place, and all of it mixed together. And it's incredible, and it's still going.
which is awesome. Is Mark supportive of your book? Is he familiar with it? Did you walk him through it, your novel?
Oh, it was such an early process then because I had just wrapped it up by August that I don't think he had even known about it then. But right now, I did the first draft. I wanted to let it sit for a while, read some comparative titles as well, and now I'm going to go back and do the second draft. Hopefully, get it polished and ready to be approaching people by Christmas. That would be nice.
That'd be great. Yeah. Because if it's something that Mark Leslie can also help you on direction of where to take it and how to make your next stable step forward.
Mark's going to be on. He's going to be on Michelle's show real soon. I don't know what the date is, but I know the three of them have been cahooting together to figure out when they were going to do it. It's I stay out of all them Canadians, man. Look, half my network.
I guess. You go ahead. Well, the other thing I've been doing is I'm back to teaching now, so I teach English literature and creative writing. But now I have this totally new angle to teach creative writing because I can say to the kids, by the way, I've got here's my trophy and here's my
that's right.
in this book, and
yeah,
I know a few things about it, kids, and they can see, oh, sir, you gave that speech, and it's just once again, I get to pay it forward, which I look forward to doing. I would love to send a few Writers of the Futures winners your way.
That'd be awesome. We'd love to have that.
Yeah. Get
train
some
them
winners.
up and send them off.
So where'd you get that puppy there, Joe?
What?
That iPad.
Oh, this is the one I had to get to replace the other one. Which, by the way, I'll have to tell you about that. It says the other one's in Los Angeles.
So you left it here?
No, because it was y'all. No, this one I've had since when y'all came down for when y'all were in towns when that one disappeared that week, and I got this one, and just the other day it popped up and says, "Oh, we know where did you know your iPhone 12 was lost?" I'm like, "Yeah, like 2 years ago," and it says, "We know where it's at." I'm like, "Cool." So I hit the search thing, and it goes, "And are you missing an iPad?" And it gives me something. It's supposed to be emailing me a location in Los Angeles. I was like, really? How did it get from here to there? But I know it was in that car, so I'm assuming whoever took that car must have been going to LA or something.
Yeah.
But it still says but it must have been they must have charged it or something. It must have came on.
Yeah.
So it logged into the system. People with nothing, we're just talking about boring stuff. I had John and them had sent me a really nice iPad with all of L. Ron Hubbard's works on it, and I got about a third of the way through it. And I had picked up a car to pick these guys up when they came in town. And I'm pretty sure I left it in the side because I got a bad habit of sliding the pads down in between the console and the seat so they don't get damaged. And I just grab them when I need them. I'm pretty sure I left it in there. And I knew the guy who owned the place, but they swore they never found it. But I still made him buy me a new one. It's because that's the last place I can remember having it. I hope I didn't do the man wrong, but still, But anyway, that's what that one is. And so it's just got, see, that's what it's got on it now. It's got, we won't even do it now. Well, it was on there. Let's see if it's on there. Oh,
there we go.
You can see it.
You're channeling Patrick MacPhee with that cover.
It's Siri likes to hang out. She gets jealous of Alexa every once in a while. It feels the need to talk to my Alexa. So people, if y'all get Siri and Alexa, they will talk to each other.
Yeah.
Very weird.
Now, that book cover you just showed us, that's Rise to Feature Volume 41, and Patrick has, you want to describe your story in there again so people know when we're done with this thing, they need to get a copy of the book so they can read your story?
Absolutely. Mine's a sci-fi comedy. So I have a young man, 22-ish, named Terry. He's stuck in a dead-end job delivering pizzas, isn't really a fan of it. And he's at that age where his dreams for his future are rapidly diverging from where his future is actually going. And it's tapping into there's a lot of angst among young people right now who might be in that same situation. They want to go places, but they're not. They're stuck in a rut. Only Terry has a very unusual experience to start the story. He literally crashes into the ultimate get rich quick scheme himself from the future. He's traveled back in time to teach himself how to invent time travel, but it kind of goes off the rails a little bit from there. Uh, it's not just him. There might be multiple versions of Terry you might meet, and each of them has a particular agenda. There's a lot of comedy, a lot of jokes and banter between the guys. It never gets meta. It never gets to the point where you're kicked out of the narrative. And even though there's a lot of comedy, I think there's a lot of just young people trying to figure out what they want to do with their lives. And he has all these potential options that he's trying to choose from. So it reminds me of sort of the old 80s, 90s style sitcoms where we're laughing, we're having a good time, but there's even a little bit of a lesson and something we can learn about ourselves by the end. So 30 minutes or it's a paradox.
Definitely, it's a very fun story. Very fun story.
Let's see if it'll
A
let
lot
us
of fun writing it. Yeah.
That's the
Yeah,
art.
Cam
There's
Collins.
beats are stretching in all the different timelines.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
That's the illustrator
especially getting
Cam
close to
Collins. He did a
Halloween.
fantastic job. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yes. Yeah. Well, no, people, they all have their own piece of artwork. That's for a different story on the other side there. It's this poor book gets a workout. And this is one of my autograph ones. I shouldn't even let it get this kind of workout, but it does.
Yeah, that one on the right was, I think, World of Repetitions by Seth. Another fantastic time-ish story.
I like time stories. They're always fun to read.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll give you a damn headache, but they're always fun to read.
Yeah. Several of your co-winners were in Atlanta a little over a week ago. We had, let's see, there was Haley Enriquez, and there was Brianda Petch, Daniel Montefar, Heather Ann Lee. There was Randon Bartholomew, Fremini Sutcliffe, and let's see, there was Shreve 4, CL4s. So it was pretty good. And then we had several from the previous years too. We had upwards of 30 past winners at Dragon Con in Atlanta. We had a blast at a big dinner we had on Saturday night. And it was so much fun. So that became our first annual Rise to the Future, Illustrates the Future Dragon Con dinner. So we'll be doing it next year again too. But it was a lot of fun. It was just a Dutch dinner, and so everybody paid for themselves, but it was just everybody was there, had just a wonderful time, So it was great, and we had a lot of space for the illustrators and for the writers to come in there and sign books, autograph their art, sell their art. So it was really good. And they were all on panels. We got them all on panels at Dragon Con. So it's just a really good way to help continue the launch of the career. So hopefully by next Dragon Con, you'll have this book finished, sold, published, and you'll be able to say, I'm a pro. I'm ready to come back again now. So I'm earning my own way now to get my pro badge here for Dragon Con or wherever you want to go.
Yeah, you got it. And that's the thing with this contest. It's not just about the regularly scheduled events, going to the workshops, listening from the amazing judges and the professional writers and what they know, but it's the lunches and the dinners and the bar con, as they call it, just going for drinks and the camaraderie that develops. Deep regret not being able to go to Dragon Con. It just wasn't in our budget this year.
Yeah, that's fine.
But, yeah, because it's not cheap to go.
But still, the relationships, the friendships that I'm sure will be lifelong as we go through this. I don't want to use the term writing journey because it seems like everyone uses that, but we're in this together. It's going to be fantastic.
It is definitely. So now, what level of school do you teach?
I teach high school. So right now I teach, we call it grade 12 in Ontario, probably 12th grade down there, which 17 going on 18. So their last year of high school, they'll be going to university or colleges.
That's got to be a tough year to teach there, man.
It's everything has its pros and cons because the younger kids, you get a bit more behavior, not like acting out behaviors, just like they need discipline. Sometimes they're just young,
Yeah.
but maybe you don't have to mark as much. Whereas grade 12, I never get any issues with behavior. Everyone's there to learn. They might not want to be there, but they at least see the light at the end of the tunnel now. They know, okay, one more English class and I'm out of here. And I get to, I can just pick up a copy of Hamlet and just start reading Hamlet and occasionally standing on a desk or a chair as I do and melting into that and then interpreting. And I get to read great literature for a living and I get to do Gatsby as well. And I think just the other day, I was doing an extracurricular activity, so I couldn't be there, but I left them with A Modest Proposal by Swift and the world famous satire about how to deal with poverty in Ireland and whatnot, one of the greatest satires ever written. But I had to make sure to leave notes that said, okay, it's a satire, so he doesn't actually want to eat the babies. Because every now and then we might get a phone call or an email from someone saying, what are you doing? Like, it's just a satire. But long story short, we get to delve into some really deep and complicated literature, and it's not for everyone. Like some people like to teach gym, geography, whatnot. I just like to sink my teeth into stories. And this year, of course, I get to do creative writing, which is fantastic. I could never create the workshop again or do what these famous authors like Sanderson and a few others are doing on their YouTube channels, but I view it more as a high school level. Here's a few just basic ideas, and I'm just showing them. I'm opening doors to other things that exist. So here's the Writers of the Future online workshop. If you want to do that, I might show you one part. You can go off and do stuff on your own. Here's Brandon Sanderson doing a video. He's got about 50 or 60 hours. We don't have time for that, but if you like that, go off and do that. So it's I'm blessed to have a job that I like. It's intellectually stimulating and can't
It's, uh,
compare.
it's
Yeah,
always a plus to do what you like. I mean, that's a big plus.
for sure. And then we just a couple weeks ago put up 3 new videos on the writing workshop. With one of them was Rob Sawyer. So he's a fellow Canadian, as well as then we also put up Nedia Corfor and Kevin J. Anderson. But
Yeah.
Rob's got a great, he's obviously, very, very good. He's won every major award as an author and is totally there wanting to help, fellow Canadians to make the grade to, become published as an author. Because as he himself has said multiple times, I like to read too, he's looking for good stuff to read.
Well, yeah, I've already gone back and seen a few of those. They're fantastic. I'll
Yeah.
be sending people there for sure.
Yeah. It's a good thing. It's just fun. And we'll record more authors this next year at Rise of the Future, Volume 42. What's great about Volume 42, obviously 42 is a very science fiction significant number with
Absolutely.
it's the answer to all the ultimate question of the universe. And then it's also the year that will break 1,000 on writers and artists published in Writers of the Future. So, I mean, that's an amazing legacy from L. Ron Hubbard to have created that and just had that much foresight that this will happen. Nobody would have thought it would go on over 4 decades, but it just continues to go and just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And interesting as we approach, more the threat of AI. You've got a lot of the purists are standing strong and saying and defending and like, hey, wait a minute, is this AI? We got, we're not winning this. I've got, the judges and winners, and which is great. You got the people that want to do it right. And just let's just go with that. It's one thing to use Grammarly to make sure you've got your P's and Q's in order, but otherwise, the creative part's got to be human.
I was debunking AI this morning, man. Lord.
What were you doing this morning with AI?
Oh, somebody had sent me some AI from the shooting the other day, and they were telling me what it was, and I said, no, it's AI. And like I said, took me about an hour to debunk it, send it back to where it came from.
Sometimes they'll do enhancements, I think, and they might think it's an artifact from that.
Well, people want to use AI to do a lot of, how can I say this nicely, no good things. I've been coming across. I do. I started this about 2 years ago, thanks to one of the other winners of Writers of the Future. I got involved with law enforcement and helping to debunk AI technologies being used for all sorts of reasons. And this was from that shooting, from the Charlie Kirk shooting. Somebody had sent me some videos of this weird thing rippling through the shot. And the more I looked at it, the more I realized what it was. And then finally I ran it through one of my programs in the face stretch, which means it was an AI replica of whatever. It was actually an AI replica of whatever actually happened. It's just the AI there was parts of the AI I couldn't figure out from where it was coming from, so it ad-libbed.
Yeah. And that's a thing. Like you've had an author on a couple times before. It's I just went blank on his name. He's in Florida. He's been a guest a couple times. Near future science fiction, and it's the series that he wrote. It's the beginning of World War III, and it starts from an AI. You have the deep fake that was going on, and you've got the computer will take something and they'll get the president. He's being filmed in this room, and then he walks around the corner and the camera's still on, but you don't see him. You just hear him. And at the point he turns around the corner, they change the narrative, what he's saying. So you can't see that they're faking the mouth on it. And they do stuff to be able to compromise him or to create conflict between the U.S. and the UK. And then it turns out that there was a big social media craze on this one app that was started by China, and it got everybody going, but they used that to be able to work out all the different types of people and to how would they react and stuff like that. And so when they started attacking various things, they knew at what point that they would retaliate. And by that time that they had already been sinking the ships or something like that. And that was the start of World War III, but it just started because of AI, people dubbing in stuff. And right now you can't even tell what's coming out there, what's true or not. Emily, my wife, was saying, oh, wow, there's a new song that's out from Celine Dion and Lady Gaga. So she pulled it up, and then all of a sudden she said, that's not them, it's the AI. Just created a song and saying it's them, and it wasn't.
Well, you know the one I sent you on We Are the World with all the leaders singing it.
Yeah, that was all AI.
Yeah, it's all AI, and that looks good. I mean, it looks like they're singing. I mean, they even do it in accents. I mean, they even use the person's accent. I was kind of impressed by it. I was like, well, look at this. This is different, but it's all AI. It's all it is. I'm sure it took some people some time, and yeah. But if you ever see it, it's We Are the World, done by all the world leaders. Putin and Trump are singing together, and Xi Jinping is singing with Kim Jong. Yeah, it's kind of funny, actually.
It's interesting though too, with this whole thing with, like, there's this book it's given to the illustrator winners. We give the writer book to the writers. This goes to the illustrators. But there's this article called Artistic Presentation, and I'm trying to get this in volume 42. And it says, we live in a machine world. The whole yap of television and newspapers is directed toward reducing effort. The primary goal of the civilization in which we live, it seems, is to reduce all personal effort to zero. The less effort a being can confront, the more effective effort he becomes. And he says the modern trend of don't do accompanies the modern trend of an increased percentage of the insane in the society. The crazier a person is, the less he accomplishes or does. So we live in a world which is oriented to drive men mad, but more impertinent to us, we suffer from the continuous bait. Do it the easy way. Do it in the way that will demand the least effort. We see this in manufacturing. The easiest way is the cheapest way. So we get into a do it the easy way. Well, that might apply to making spoons for profit, but it does not apply to presentation. The whole world of the arts is directly opposed to the philosophy of the businessman or manufacturer. Art seeks to create an effect. An effect is not always created the easy way. Indeed, the better effects are quite difficult to achieve. And then he goes to the whole thing. It's like, explains how, you don't do it. You don't get into all the gadgets and stuff like that to, to do that when you're creating. He says this is no rant against automation or gadgets or self-sterilizing cat petters. Use all the gadgets you can lay your hands on if they really do work in your hands and don't absorb all your time in earning their price or repairing their faults. No, my only thought here is this: keep your action level above your gadget level. Keep ahead of automation. Keep ahead of do it for you. Don't disenfranchise yourself by giving all your work away to a machine, to a fellow worker. And he says this, art takes that extra bit, that extra care, that bit more push for it to be effective art. What's happening?
It's weird.
John, just what you were saying there, people taking the easy way out. It's not just with art. Sometimes I find that with thinking as well. Thinking is hard, and if you can get something else to think for you, your earlier example of the book where World War III was starting with all these AI deepfake images, if you had a population that was used to thinking against stuff like that, never take something at face value that the screen shows you, wait 24, 48 hours. Or if you had a population that was used to seeing other political views as well, I disagree with that, but they're still human beings. If you had all that together, then you're not going to get this World War III happening. They're going to see through the AI lies. And it starts with just taking the hard road, doing the hard work. Maybe I'm not going to have a knee-jerk reaction to something I see on the screen right away. I need to wait and just be uncomfortable with this. I don't know. I'm just waiting for 24 to 48 hours to see how it all shakes out. And if we did that, maybe things would improve there. But I mean, I'm on board as a teacher. I'm telling my students all the time, guys, like an expert can use AI to help them. It's a great tool for an expert, but you have to be, it's like fire. You have to be controlling that AI, double checking it, triple checking it. But if you're just learning stuff,
Josh.
I mean, I know we're on the same page, but if you're teaching little kids their timetables, we don't give them a calculator. We teach them how to do their timetables first. And then later on, when you're doing advanced stuff, you can have a calculator. AI is kind of the same way. You can't let it think for you, guys. You got to think first and use the AI later. I know I'll take it to you, but
true.
Yeah, it was that boy from Elsewhere in volume 41. That story where the guy comes in, he's used to reading books, and everybody else is all, they got their headsets on and everything comes in, and they themselves don't know anything. All they get is, okay, so the question comes up and the AI gives them all the answers. And the main problem you got right now, maybe it'll never change with AI, is that one of the things is programmed to be convincing. Not true, but convincing. So you have that. So, it's
it
just
reminds me of Brave New World.
Yeah.
Well, the people filling themselves with noise, but they're filling themselves with emptiness. And the AI, I know they upgraded it, but it was downright obsequious for a while. It was just like worshiping you, basically. Oh, that's an amazing idea. That's wonderful. Let's do more. And I know some people, they're getting taken in by that, especially young people who might be emotionally vulnerable. It's really scary when you think about it.
Yeah, well, I've got people also. I got someone at the office, English second language, and we'll defer to AI. I've had stuff because I do QC on all the stuff before it goes out, or at least I try to get it all before it goes out. And I've gotten arguments. Well, Chat GPT says, and it's like, I don't care. It doesn't make sense. So.
I kind of
changed.
Well, I kind of feel sorry for the people in electronics and and software programming, because I still remember from when I was in the Navy, everything we did, we had to learn how to do longhand. So when you took a test, and electronics can get very complicated, and so can avionics, we had to do it in longhand, in algebra or in geometry. It just depends what we were doing. But you couldn't use the calculator, and it didn't matter how long the problem was. You would either have to work it out to its conclusion or show that there was no conclusion. But you had to do it by longhand. If you didn't, you failed.
Yeah.
And they did require that you aced every test that you took. So it's something we kind of lost. But I tell you what, it's helped me out a few times because there's been a few times where we didn't have electricity or I didn't have access to a calculator. And I said, you know what, I can do this longhand. I've actually scratched it out on the concrete slab with sheetrock chalk.
Yeah.
And it's not just math, it's the mental discipline.
It is.
Because you can take that toughness that you can sit there and grind it out longhand or low tech, whatever you need to, you can take that in all kinds of different situations. And just like John was saying, if you always take the easy way out, you get used to that. There's a tendency to get lazy. Where remember Wally and the people were sitting around and they're just, let's go golfing and we're going to watch a robot play golf. And it's a caricature, of course, but every caricature has a little kernel of unsettling truth. And we don't want to, at least intellectually, be like those, enormous people in Wally just sitting around.
Well,
yeah.
Look
That author I was talking about, that was James Rousseau, and it's the Monroe Doctrine is the name of the series.
Wait.
Yeah, James Rousseau. Amazing. He's a really nice guy.
Right there. Actually, there it is right there.
Yeah, but that's some of the scariest fiction I've ever read because it's near future. It's like it happens in the next couple of years, but looking all around, just seeing, wow,
even
this is
Bob
all happening.
Liked it.
This is all happening.
When Bob likes a book, it's damn good. It's he's actually sitting on those 2 books. That's how much he likes those. But y'all was saying that, and I got to thinking one of the guilty pleasures that almost everybody uses now is GPS. Now I could find myself from Los Angeles all the way to Jacksonville, Florida, without any problem at all. Even go through side roads and back roads. But I find myself, even though I know my way around pretty well, I still like to turn the GPS on and go. And GPS sometimes takes you to the wrong place. It's not all. I'm telling you what, we felt like Deliverance one time. We were going to Pensacola, and we decided we wanted to go see this flea market along the way. And I programmed the GPS, and it took me down some little gravel road. Man, I'm telling you, it felt like we were headed for Deliverance. I said, well, we're just going to turn around here and put in new coordinates because this isn't working. But I mean,
I used to go and ask that. You go to the corner gas station. Okay, where's blah blah blah? They don't know. It's gotten to the point now where you're talking about the GPS and where something is. You used to go, well, there's a Dairy Queen right down there, about a half a mile, and you turn left at there, and you go up to a little bit there, and you go through a gully, and then there's a burned out tree, and you turn right there, and it's just go another how far is it, Pa? And then you just go there, and then that's how you used to get directions. And now, or you had your Thomas guide. I'd be driving with my Thomas guide, which was, I don't know if you have that in Canada, but it was a map that was like, I don't know, a couple hundred pages. And so every city had their own Thomas guide, and it took you through the city. So it gave you the very small details, and you flip the pages, you go to the next section, keep on flipping the pages to where you go. So you're busy driving with a Thomas guide on your lap as you're driving, to where you're trying to go, not knowing where it is.
Navigator.
Yeah, something similar.
Yeah, that's what I used to print off MapQuest and give them to my wife and say, okay, baby, just read the directions as we go.
Yeah.
She navigated us across the country like 4 or 5 times too. It's because we both we'll fly when it's more convenient, but we both like to be on the road. So,
but I like with Waze or something like that. I use that. And one time driving to Salt Lake City for FanX, this was a couple years ago, it sent me off the road. I thought, why am I doing this? So I went off the road, but then there was an accident, and for the next however many miles, it was just a block up traffic, and I was driving along the access road, and so I was able to drive around that. I wouldn't have known to do that had I not had the Waze there,
Oh, yeah.
So that's a big plus for that, So
that's what I use mine for the most. That and for cops, it's because I like to go fast. So
I'm not so much.
When I say fast, I'm saying like 72 and a 70. Yeah, that's right. No, I mean ours down here, because we have Waze and we have a couple other ones and all 3 of them are on my phone, and it'll just call me cruising along, cop ahead. Now it calls me Mr. Joe in an Australian voice, by the way. So I'm like, okay.
You're one of those. Okay, good. You're like one of those.
No, it just started doing this by itself randomly. I just
that's Waze that does that. You can set whoever's telling you. So you got the Australian, you got like 10 different voices that can do you.
So I'm assuming one of the kids, well, grandkids, was in there playing with it.
Probably.
But anyway, it's kind of, but it comes in great because I'll be cruising around 80, 85, and it's a cop side of the road, 1 mile. Just ooh, just let off the gas, wave at him as you go by. Speed back up. It's a great.
Anybody listening to stuff here, Joe is
Cops must
confessing
hate it.
to being a heinous
Kilometers,
criminal, and
No, I'm
so
just saying, cops must hate
85
these
kilometers.
You know, so I mean, well, what's funny is there's several roads in the U.S. that you can do 85 on. Most of them are out west, though. Not all of them, but most of them are out west. Freaking, you go to Area 51, like the Rachel. I was doing 105, blew by the car. He didn't even look up. I watched his car do this as I went by. He didn't even look up. So we were going into Utah. Matter of fact, to go see John and them. So we're cruising along. Woo. We get on the interstate, headed down towards Salt Lake City. I'm doing, I don't know, 98, 99. Speed limit's 90. So I blew by the cop, seen his car rock. He's doing the same thing. He must have been writing a ticket. He might have been sleeping as far as I know. Didn't even look up. Got to hit Colorado, was 85 through most of where we went in Colorado. All through the mountains, it was 85. And no internet signal, no phone signal.
What I
no
do in
radio.
California, it doesn't. The highest it'll go is 75, and that's
Yes, high as it is
Arizona.
down here, 75. But now, if you're doing 75, the cops will generally give you to 80. So you're usually okay. They won't pull you over. They like to give you about 5 miles. Now, people, if you're driving through Wichita, Texas, and you don't have a southern driver's tag, license plate on your car, slow down to 5 miles under the speed limit, because if not, you're gonna get stopped. I have been stopped 3 different times because I was driving in New York vehicles.
Because he was busy reading his book and wasn't paying attention to how fast he was going. Because we're talking about
I wouldn't even speed.
Quill here and about reading books and the value of books.
Yeah, no, man. So and then twice I got stopped because I was in one of those white Chrysler drug dealer looking car things, and a cop told me it's why he stopped me. He was actually honest about it. He said, "Well, man, this kind of looks like you might be a drug dealer." That's like, I said, "Do you really want to search the car?" I said, "I tell you what, give me what I got to say. I'll give you permission to search the car because it was loaded down with crap because we were on vacation." He's like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, help yourself, man." I said, "There's nothing back there you can't see. Just but see Utah." They said they pulled me over for doing 76 and a 75. Called out a backup state trooper so he could search the car. I was like, because we were driving a white van with yellow New York tags on it. And then he comes up to me, he goes, "Well, where are you from again?" I said, "I'm from Louisiana, New Orleans." "Wait, what?" "No, man, it says New York." I was like, "No, dude, New Orleans." wrong direction. And he looked at me like, "Well, shit, I didn't really want to pull you over, man." So he starts giving us all this bullshit. And then he goes, "Well, I got to give you a ticket because my boy showed up and we pulled you." I said, "What are you going to give me a ticket for? 1 mile over the speed limit?" "Well, you were carrying a gun." I said, "The gun's legally registered to me." So that bullshit, what's going on here? So I don't know. He writes us something to do with the rental car contract, $176 ticket. So about a month later, because I'd already sent them the money, about a month later, I was looking. I got this little program. Everybody should have this program. So it's to tell you how fast you're going, but it tracks your trip by GPS minute by minute. And I've already used this to save me money before. So I went and looked at it. At no point did the car ever exceed 73 miles an hour. You see me doing 73, then you see me start slowing down and then get off at the rest area where he stopped us at. And at no point. So I took it, called the Wichita district attorney. He kind of gave me some shit, so I called the state district attorney, sent it to them. The district attorney from Wichita called me and said, "Oh, there must have been a problem with the radar." I'm like, "Obviously there was a problem with something." So I said, "I want my money back." She said, "Okay, that's fine." She said, "But we can't take it off your record unless you come down here and sign it." I'm like, Wichita, Texas is a day from here. I'm thinking, I'm like, "You got to be shitting me, right?" And he's like, No. Well, they searched my poor friend Joe like 5 times because he was sick. We had stopped at some dive in Colorado and he was eating chili dogs. Like, before he was making that cop crazy. "He's got drugs." So I said, "Search him. He didn't get drugs on him." I said, "Joe, tell the cop he can search him, man." It's like, sure, whatever. Oh, it was kind of sad, kind of funny at the same time. But I got stopped right here, where not far from where I live, coming back from Pensacola at 2 in the morning. I seen the cop when I got off interstate. He had somebody pulled over, so I slowed down to 50. All of a sudden, I look up like 5 minutes later, blue light pulls me over. It's too early in the morning. I'm not going to argue with a state trooper. It's a dumb thing to do. Signed the ticket, drove away. Didn't think about it again. Drove up here and paid. Went to court, paid the fine, and I went to go that same day. I went to go turn on the program to track my speed. I was getting ready to go back to Florida, and I remembered the damn thing was on this. And when I got to the hotel in Florida, I went and found that day, and sure enough, I was doing 51 miles an hour when he pulled me over at 55. He lost his job over it. Obviously, I'm not the only one he's done that to. He lost his damn job over that because I made a big stink about it. I was not a happy camper. Because man, that's you shouldn't have to worry about that. There's other stuff to worry about, like people writing good books because I'm bored.
Yeah, just reading back to books on the author school. That's good to know.
Yes, well, because I need a good book. I need anything sci-fi pretty much. Near now,
well, Patrick's your man. So he's got. So what is your novel about that you're writing or that you wrote?
Oh boy.
So you've got this fantasy.
He said the main character's name was John Goodwin. You better watch out. I'm just saying. Go ahead, Patrick. I'm sorry.
Well, I read a few great novels. There's From the Devils by Joe Abercrombie. There's The Pariah by Anthony Ryan. There's a few just great stories about these thieves in these fantasy towns, and that used to be a big trend years ago. It seems to be coming back a little bit, and I thought, well, I've got this great world, I've got this character, so I just wrote about this young man who the world has beaten him down. He wants to win. He wants to be the greatest thief who ever lived, and he's going to do it. But along the way, he realizes that his people, this weird race of telepathic half elves, they need him. They need his particular talents and skills because they're suffering. So you've got the classic torn between glory and power versus your responsibility to people, do the right thing versus do what you want. And there might be a girl along the way and she might get in trouble, and the usual romance subplot. I'm doing that one. I'm also doing a few others. I just multiple stories are coming.
Great, but now that you're telling that description, I'm curious because you're such a nice person. You're such a good guy, and now you're like taking this thief and you're like putting him on a pedestal. Like thievery is like you're honoring thievery and the honor of thieves, which is its own subject and the whole thing on that. So how does that fit in with being a Canadian?
Well, there's a moment in this young man's life. He sees his father publicly executed, and he sees how it affects his mother, especially because I heighten up the pathos as well because they're all mildly telepathic. So you don't just look at someone and feel empathy. You're literally feeling the pain and the fear and the terror. And this breaks him inside. He realizes the world is fundamentally unfair. And he steps out of civilization. The whole, we have to have laws and rules and regulations and customs and take turns and share and care about each other. It's almost like like a little river of civilization. All the little connections that people have with each other and with society. And he's fundamentally broken from that. And that enables him he just sees the system as this awful, terrible thing that is keeping his people down, keeping people like him down. And he has no compunction there about lying, stealing, doing what he has to do. He doesn't do it against poor people. He tries to target rich people and people who are powerful in this system. Even then, he learns that maybe there's something else at fault. Maybe a lot of people are trapped in this system. So he can't quite escape that moral compass. It takes him a while, but there is this wrestling with, I just want to do my own thing. I want to be glorious. I'm going to steal this big MacGuffin and be really famous and have all kinds of glory. But he keeps being drawn back to, well, there's all kinds of people suffering, not just his particular race, the telepathic half elves, but the humans and the other races there as well. We're all kind of down in this system.
Is it like a Robin Hood thing?
A little bit. He kind of gets sucked into if not necessarily giving back, at least stealing from the right people, stealing from the people who are actually doing something negative politically to keeping these people down, targeting his skills. So he has the, I don't want to reveal everything that might happen at the end, but he has this temptation to either just be a thief for yourself, or you can be an agent for justice, potentially. It'd be a hard kind of justice. It'd be an anti-hero kind of justice, more Han Solo-ish. You know, you're not necessarily saving the day so much as you're stealing from the bad guy who was going to ruin the day, but the same basic idea there. So I'm
I get it.
excited about it. I had a lot of fun writing it, and it's still, you know, first draft, so I need to polish it up, but it's great. I go back to that Writers of the Future workshop. I'm going full circle. Just
Which
the
is
idea of the
great.
discipline to every day. It's fantastic.
Which is great. And I just have a question on your magic system. Are you emulating somebody else, or did you create your own magic system for your elf?
For me, it's really just the telepathy is just like the kind of new agey telepathy you read on the internet. Just someone else has thoughts, and then you think it's like you have thoughts in your head that just feel differently to you, and that's because you're in sync with someone else, and you're kind of getting thoughts there. There are there is another magic system that it's I don't know if I'm emulating someone too much. It's like there are threads of reality, and when the threads fray a little bit, people who have the right objects, the right knowledge, they can kind of tug on them a little bit, and they can use them to rearrange the laws of physics as they see fit. That system is failing, though, and a lot of people in the background are scrambling to get a hold of as many artifacts and machines and anything they can to get a hold of this weird frayed ends of reality magic, because whoever has control of that is the ultimate power in the region, in the world. Um, this young thief character, his people, they've been on the bottom of that. They've never had access to that, but maybe they can if they steal the right thing that might give them access to that.
I get it. So,
So,
do you have any science fiction also in the works? Because that's what Joe perks up and you start talking about near future science fiction.
Did you watch
sure,
one
I
of my
wrote
favorites?
It's funny, I wrote a 24-hour story and it's like a cyberpunk thing. And I had this character in this mayor who was just this stereotypical evil because I had to kind of pop her in there in 5 minutes and she was very wooden. And I took a couple of weeks and I did this whole backstory of her surviving. It's odd that you mentioned this earlier, a nuclear war that happens in 2032, and she lives in Montana, not a good place to be in the middle of a nuclear war, but she eventually travels up to Alberta, and they're kind of in this last surviving town in Western Alberta there. And when she was very young, she witnessed her uncle do all kinds of horrific things to get her to survive. And she didn't thank him properly until it was too late. He eventually died of cancer and whatnot. But she's a major character in my cyberpunk story now, where there's a whole gang culture and whatnot. I'm excited about that. In a little while, probably by next year, I'll be getting into a space opera novel
Ooh, space
where
operas out.
it's about 10,000 years in the future. Humans swap bodies as easily as clothes, and there's a murder, and they call this guy in and they say, "Oh, there's a murder." Well, what do you mean there's a murder? There hasn't been a murder in 3,000 years. I know it seems to be a murder. It's an outright homicide. Who's the victim? Well, you're the victim. One of your bodies, one of your avatars was apparently killed, and we think you would be the perfect person to investigate. And what they do is their bodies will sync with the cloud, like a typical, you know, Apple or phone, whatever. You just kind of plug in, and your mind kind of uploads back and forth with you, Prime somewhere. But this guy hadn't been syncing in a while, so they don't know what was going on. It was like 6 months. This guy was just going around in this body. Something happened where he was killed, and this guy has to figure out his own murder in a way. Meanwhile, there's this other kind of plot story where societies in the galaxy don't tend to last very long. They mysteriously disappear after a while. They just turn into ruins. And there's the potential that humanity, that might happen to them as well. Is it linked to this murder? Maybe, maybe not, but they'll discover that as well. So,
That's
still
good,
getting
man.
that lined
Man,
up.
you're on a roll.
Yeah,
This is
that's what I'm
awesome.
thinking.
Well,
Now,
that was a story I wrote.
the,
Oh,
the,
well, I sent that into Writers of the Future years ago, and that was a semi-finalist. And I just loved the concept, and I can explore even spiritual ideas. Like, if you have multiple bodies, where's the soul? Is the
Yeah.
soul in the
one of the things they
cloud?
talk about
Are
too.
you
So,
so
reason I was going to say is they got a TV series called Altered Carbon. You should watch it. If you're going to write what you're saying, you should definitely watch it because that's what the series is about. It's
awesome?
now if you got kids, don't watch it with kids. It's
Okay.
so it's two things you got to get past. There's a lot of gratuitous sex for some reason. I'm not sure why. Both the guys who are playing,
Which
well,
is why
all
I would
three of
never
the,
watch it.
well, no, but all three of the stars who are playing the male role are all big actors, including the guy who played the new Captain America. I can't remember his name right now, but no, not him, the black guy. I can't think of his name. He's been in a lot of TV stuff, but he's actually one of the leads in there too. So what they have is they have a little round disc that goes, it's inserted back here. It records everything in their head. It keeps a constant recording and updates. And from time to time, depending on how much money you got, you can have it uploaded and stored. So that way, if you're killed, the latest upload will be what's downloaded into the new body. It's a really good story. Like I said, they just got to get past it's a really hardcore sci-fi story, and it's just a hardcore story in general. It's just for some reason they felt the need to just anytime somebody could get naked, they got naked. It was just
Yeah,
and don't get me wrong.
they paid no attention to George R. Martin's
Well,
series
don't get me
too,
wrong.
which I saw 5 minutes of, and that was it.
I mean, when I got a rule, usually if I see TNA in the first 5 minutes, I won't watch it. But if I wouldn't have, I would have missed out on Expanse, which was a good series, and I would have missed out on Alter Carbon, which also was a good series. It's just that's Expanse. The first two episodes you see, he's floating around in space, humping his girlfriend, and and then the gravity comes on and they fall. But still, it's when I see stuff like that, I'm thinking, okay, this is not going to be really worth investing any real time into, because if this is what it's going to be the entire series, I'm just going to get bored. And but in these cases, they in Alter Carbon, they got a serious technology, and they dabble with the stuff is what happens when people are living 300 and 400 and 500 years and building empires and living in the skies because they have so much more money than anybody else does. It just puts a lot of moral dilemma questions in it. It's a really good series, and it dabbles in everything you can think of. So I was thinking maybe you should take a peek at it. It's fun to watch.
Absolutely.
Just if you got kids.
Yeah, I'm gonna excuse myself for about 2 minutes. I'll be right back.
Just don't let your kids watch it.
Oh yeah, and I've read a few things. There was the Void trilogy, but I think it was Peter Hamilton, a similar idea where they'll talk
It's a
people
good
aren't
idea.
killed. There's body loss, and the idea is, well, you lost your body, but we uploaded you. And I kind of just want to lean into the spiritual side of that, philosophically. Is that the same person? They're going to
That's
ask
the
that in the book,
question.
and
Isn't
I don't know if
so?
I'm
The
going to
first
answer.
time we teleport somebody at somewhere, we're going to ask, is that the same person that? Because really, it's not.
Yes.
You're deconstructed and
Yeah.
reconstructed. Is it? Is it? I mean, they're saying in teleportation, it's what's being deconstructed is actually being sent to the new location. If that's true, then it's the same. It's the same person. Maybe,
Well, yeah,
kind of, sort of.
I'm gonna do some sort of quantum magical, doohickery where
It's
there's some quantum crystal where the person's prime consciousness is stored and pieces of that same crystal that are grown from it. Maybe you have a piece of that in the person's head. So there's some kind of quantum resonance that goes back and forth. Even then, I don't think I'll answer whether I don't think I can answer. I can just have characters wrestling with the idea of, are you real? If you are a clone, who's the real one?
That's a good thing to do. It's a good take on it, and you don't know, especially if there's more than one of you,
Oh,
and who's more real than the other one, or you're equally real. I mean, that shit just gets complicated quickly.
or if you have one that goes rogue.
It's all fun, but I've watched it in a couple of different series where they've tackled it, because most people don't even know this because of some of the research I do, but it's so in 19 it was actually in 2000, Boeing and two other companies had decided that they were looking for ways to store memory on chips so that they could take your consciousness of who you are when you die and upload it into what they call a husk body, not a clone body, but a combination mixed of certain DNAs from different people. So there's no degradation from cloning. So, I mean, they've thought about this in great detail. So I can't remember his name. In 1999, this guy put a chip in his head and recorded it until the chip was full. Then took the chip out of his head and read what was on the chip on a computer. I was like, okay, now we know now Elon Musk has a new neurochip, which allows you to control stuff by thinking about it. So it actually works. I actually watched the first recipient the other day using his phone and his computer and all sorts of stuff. And now they're talking about putting receivers in the arms and legs, and that way it can control them remotely, and the person can be able to use their hands and legs again.
I saw a girl with a hand. It was a bionic hand, and the hand was on the table, and she was the hand was crawling around.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, but the technology is getting there, so it's getting it's really strange how much science fiction. I mean, how much the science is emulating science fiction these days. There's a lot of stuff that you hear about. And when Boeing came out and said they were looking for people with certain types of talents and gifts, they wanted to see that if there was a way to really record the consciousness and re-upload it into the body. Now, that was 26 years ago. I've never heard anything but maybe 2 clips about that story since. And you got to wonder how far have they made it.
That's the thing, when they stop talking about something.
Yeah, because that's how our government is. Yeah, once they go shush, because it's like the SR-7. I mean, not the SR-71, the X-117. I remember, and we get all these people calling us about these black triangles over New Mexico, all over Nevada, all over southeast California. And I'm thinking the whole time, those are all no-fly zones. It's what the hell? And turns out it was an X-117, but we didn't know we had them until we went to Iraq. Till we started blowing stuff up with them. The country was like, well, and where did these come from? Nobody bought it. And we didn't just have one of them, we had a whole fleet of them. Nobody bothered telling us any of that, all that taxpayers' money. Nobody said, hey, look what we built with your money. I'd like to know sometimes. And here's a great one for your sci-fi. So this is true story. U.S. Navy is working on this thing called the X-47.
Oh, did we send an invitation to our next guest?
He's actually in the queue with us.
Okay, great.
So the Navy decides they're going to build this X-47 so it can fly along with the new there's a new fighter that's being built that's also a 47, and there's a new drone fighter being built.
Is that the Dark Star, or is that different?
Well, the Dark Star is something different, but this is it's the X-47 stealth drone is what this is. So this thing can do like 40 Gs and stuff. It's an incredible jet. So they build this thing and they send it out. It takes off the carrier with hardly no space at all. Woo, it's gone. It goes out, it stops midair, refuels itself, meets with a drone fueler, by the way, and refuels itself. Selects its target and its ammo load and gets halfway to the target and modifies its target because it realized its target was a different type of vehicle. So it switched to a different type of missile. Got right to where it was going to blow this thing up, and it got a return target saying that it was a hardened U.S. target, that it wasn't what it was looking for. So it turned around and came back. On its way back, the son of a bitch found the target it was looking for and went and blew it up. No one was controlling this thing at all. This was all AI. It scared the Navy so bad they disbanded the craft. They said it's a pure predator.
The AI. There's an AI program, and they were asking it to destroy all these targets.
Yes.
And the controller was prohibiting it from doing these things. So it thought, I'll just blow up the controller. So I just send a missile down where it's controlling me, and now I'll be free to do all the targets I want. And then they said, no, you can't do that. It was all simulated. No one was actually killed.
Yeah.
And then they prohibited it from doing that. So it blew up the communication tower between the controller and it. So same effect. And it went on its merry way doing things. You mentioned these drones. I get terrified. I just think
Well,
ASCII.
because
one
they're
goes
they're
away.
thinking now, and it gets scary. But well, look at the very first time they asked Google's chat, how would you save the planet? And the first thing it said was get rid of humans. First thing out of its mouth. And I wrote to him real nicely, and I said, guys, did you not think about saying how can you save humanity, you morons? That would have been the question to ask. And it's how you save the planet. Of course, get rid of us. We're destructive. I mean, come on. We don't need AI to tell us that. Let me give you a break sometimes. I just got to laugh about some of this stuff.
Hey,
Oh,
Stephen.
Hey, gentlemen. Good to see you.
hey, looking good, baby. How you doing? You
Oh.
looking good?
This is the book that I'm about halfway through right now. I'll have it ready. We're going to be doing an interview with him at Fanex Salt Lake in about a week and a half or
Lake
so.
City.
His book, Paper Heroes.
It's
Interesting because like you're both like you, Patrick, are in Canada, and Stephen, you're in Utah, and you're both. At least my experience so far with your moral compass is really more, I guess I'll call it traditional. It's not safe to be able to say something is more conservative versus liberal. It's just more traditional stuff. So like family and education and doing things the right way, not the fast way. At least that's what I'm getting with this one here. You know, so far in here, I'm getting more an idea of what you're like, Stephen. And then definitely, right, I already know you, Patrick, that you're like very much, you know, just you're all around just a good guy, you know, and like that you like to teach the kids and do stuff like this. Like, so I'm very excited to beat you in more detail, Stephen. But it's just interesting to have you both on here. It's like Carmen was going like, who are we gonna have tomorrow? We don't know. So I said, okay, I'm getting ready to interview Stephen Heumann. So let's check out with him because he's got a great, because you were a silver honorable mention, Stephen.
Yeah, twice. Before it was published, I was in Writers of the Future twice with 2 different short stories, and it was a wonderful experience. And it was one of those things where you're kind of like, okay, well, where am I at? I'm going to try, you know, with all these other tens of thousands of people, and then you get that little boost where you're like, okay, well, maybe I'm not awful. And so it was a good experience.
That's great. Yeah. And Patrick, you entered, how many times did you enter, Patrick, before you won?
Oh, it was at least about 10, I would say. I had stories. They didn't all make it in there. I would be working on a story, the deadline would go, and the usual self-censorship. But yeah, you got to enter a few times. Consistency.
Yeah. And it's good. Like Brandon Sanderson, you know, it's like everybody, he's like the current big success story in epic fantasy, at least. And he was ready to quit, you know, when he got his honorable mention in Writers of the Future so many years ago. And I've run into various people like, are you familiar with Writers of the Future? Oh yeah, I entered that. And, you know, I got an honorable mention. This was Joe Hill, Stephen King's son. I talked to him at an ALA, American Library Association convention about maybe 10 years ago. I say, you familiar with Writers of the Future? Oh yeah. Yeah, I entered. I got an honorable mention in it, and some of these big authors. Now, I mean, it makes sense. Over 4 decades, you're going to have a lot of people that got their, at least dabbled in it, and several people, that encouragement that you get, because being blind judged, you know, there's no little fudging. It's just either it's a good story or it wasn't. So if you got a silver, that's an amazing testament. Now that I'm reading your book, you know, so yeah, you definitely got the right stuff. And this is the first of how many books in the series so far?
So that's a standalone, and then I have a few other series after that. But I've written, at this point I've got 10, 11 books under my belt. So it's been fun.
Yeah. And then you've gone, because you're self-published, right?
Yeah, I went that route because I'm a business owner, and I realized that the chances of getting published were slim, not based off of necessarily how good you are, you know. It had to do with so many different factors that were out of your control. And I figured, well, if I can take the reins and I can build the business around that, and I can, you know, still do all the same steps that I would need to with editing and with all of that stuff, that maybe I could be financially successful by going that route and have control over what I wrote and build my own fan base. And so that was the route that I chose to go, and it worked out pretty well. And so it's like I'm now able to write what I want. and the fans enjoy it. And I don't have to be quite so beholden to, some of the horror stories from some of my author friends that they had in the traditional. I was like, oh no. And so, yeah, it's been a really good experience for me to go that route and be able to just have control over my own trajectory and write what I want to write and not worry so much about, well, this is what's selling right now, and so you have to kind of copy this. It's been, for me personally, it's been a wonderful journey.
Which is great. And the other thing too, we're talking to some of the authors, they like being able to, who've gone indie, they like being able to write the size of the book they want to write at the schedule they want to write it. So like if they're going to write, like Kevin Anderson, I mean, he's very prolific, but with a traditional publisher, you can do one book a year and it has to be this size and this, that, and the other thing. And he's not conscripted by that. He just does what he wants to. Patrick, are you going traditional, or are you indie or self?
Probably try traditional at first, at least, because I have a few books that are that marketable range. I've got a 95,000 one right now. I've got some comp titles lined up, but I've got the social media. People tell me the stories. It's a slog. And even then, you might have a great book, but someone else might be ahead of you with a similar book, or someone might not feel it. So yeah, I guess I'll start with traditional and we'll see what happens. But indie looks more and more appealing. I'd probably do hybrid if I could do it. A little bit of indie, a little bit of traditional, if possible.
Yeah, we've got a few of our, like Kevin Anderson with Brian Herbert. The Dune series is all traditional, but everything else he does through himself as an indie publisher with Wordfire Press. And you've got Todd McCaffrey with his Dragon Riders books that he comes out with. Those are traditional, but his other stuff he does indie. We've got you've got like some of the our judges right now. You've got like Dean Wesley Smith, who feels like traditional is the bane of any author's existence. That the amount of money that you could make as an indie author and the old rate that you can do it. And then that's also with Mark Leslie. He's Mr. He likes the indie route, But then you've got, we've also had Hugh Howey, who started self-publishing, and he'd do these little novelettes and then put them together after he got 3 or 4 of them to make a novel. And that's how he did Sand and Silo. And then because of the popularity, he went traditional. But then going traditional, no, your books, you can't do your novelettes. You got to do one book. It's got to be this many words, and it can't be fatter than this, thickness. You can only do one a year. And he said, "Oh, I'm out." So he went back to doing indie publishing. So it's just, I guess what you're interested in. The main thing is you're up against 3 million other books a year. So I mean, you've got one big advantage of being a Wind and Rise of the Future and all this additional things that we're able to do for you to get your voice heard above, so many others. So now the ball's in your court, but with all these books that you've been writing and can come out with, you've got an additional chance that others don't have. Just telling you.
Very fortunate and very blessed. Absolutely.
Yeah. But then also, and with the podcast, it's really good because I'm able to, it's just how it works out that I meet so many authors. I just upload, I guess, episode 335 or something like that at the rate of 1 a week. And since getting syndicated with UPRN, with Joe here, I mean, I'm up to 3.2 million listens per episode now. So it grows. So it makes it easier to help the other author or the artist or the whoever I've got as a guest. But it also makes it easier to help, the sifting up of the good people to have on the podcast. It makes a big difference too, because I like stories that are morally uplifting. I'm not in, I've only had to decline on one. I still wasn't able to finish the book. That's not my moral level, that type of stuff. And I just, okay, good. That's not me. So, I'm able to also forward what L. Ron Hubbard did with his books. They're very much, no gratuitous sex, no gratuitous violence, and they're just good stories. And so when I read stories like, I said, paper heroes. Okay, I don't know how it's going to end up yet, but reading, that mixes Paper Heroes is a sci-fi thriller novel that mixes politics and heroism, asking whether or not the end truly justifies the means. I mean, that's a good question. I'm curious to see how you do it, but seeing everything else about you and where you are and what you've done, I can anticipate it'll be a good outcome, which I like. I don't like, if I want something that's not a good outcome, I can just go to the news. I can go to social media feeds.
Well, and that's why we read fiction, right? It's because we want to be transported to somewhere else. We want to feel powerful. We want to feel that emotion, and that's why we want to have some kind of triumph in the story, even if it doesn't end in exactly the way that we want. Even if it catches us by surprise, we still need to have some kind of catharsis, right?
Yeah.
You want to be able to step up and be able to smile and be like, okay, in some way, even if the main character dies, sacrifices, or whatever it is, there's myriad different stories. You want to have that triumph, that moment of like, yes, good came out in the end. Because I think that's what we all want from our own lives, right?
Yeah. Yeah. What was the one series? It was that it was really popular, I don't know, 10 years or so ago. It was like 5 books or 4 books. And at the very end, the chick is killed. It's like, what? It was just one of those fluke things, and she was killed at the end. And I go like, man, I so do not like that kind of a thing. I don't need that. That happens enough in real world, where the good guy comes out there and then all of a sudden he gets killed from friendly fire, or something like that. It's like, no, that's not my thing. There's enough of the people,
there's enough bad stories out there in the real world.
Yeah, I like a lot of literary fiction too. A lot of literary fiction and a lot of so-called literary fiction. You'll be reading this story following a family, and suddenly, they all die. Just car accident, and it just ends. There's no actual ending, which I guess some people like. It's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah, it's not my cup of tea at all. And that's something I'll actually be very vocal, because now I can be vocal about stuff what I like and feel good about it, and and I'll say, no, I don't like that. That's not my thing. And if you want something that can be, especially right now, not even especially, it's been for a bit, but with all the divisiveness and all the ability to get so riled up with just anything that's happening, I don't need to read something for pleasure that's going to rile me up too. It's like, why did he, or why did she, or, I'm not saying it's got to be a fairy tale. I'm not interested in that either, but at least some type of a catharsis, like you were saying there, Stephen, that, okay, good. So like, they do get the guy gets the girl. I like that. I like those kinds of stories. I like it when that can happen like that. To me, life can be good. You can control life and make it good. And it's hard, but you get the girl of your dreams, and life is, it's a good thing. It's okay to have that. And so,
I 100% agree, because in life, we don't have as much control as we would like over our lives. We could, anything can happen at any point. But there's something wonderful when you sit down with a good story and you've got good characters that sort of take you through that journey, and then suddenly you get to that end point where you're like, even if things didn't line up exactly the way you wanted to or whatever, but it has that moment where you feel good and you feel uplifted, and that's why we read fiction, right? We want to feel that moment of like, okay, everything can be right in the world, even if it's not right in my world right now, it's right in this world, and so then I feel great, There's something so wonderful about that, and about fiction, and that ability to read and be transported.
Yeah, and so the hero's journey, that's, to me, that's I like the guy can get shot, he can get beat up, he can get all kinds of stuff, but at the end he overcomes, and there he is, I made it across the finish line, you know. Maybe he was carried across it, but he made it, you know, and he built up support, you know, that type of thing, you know, like Star Wars, you know, it's a good thing. You know, like again, if I want something that's going to be like realistic and all this stuff here, like yeah, I get enough news and I get enough updates and stuff like that, and you see what just happened recently with Charlie Kirk, and go like, and you get all just the different things that are happening around that. And you're like, wow, okay, let's get another theme song from Star Wars going right now. I'm like,
And that doesn't mean we can't handle sacrifice. We've seen, Obi-Wan Kenobi sacrificing himself for the greater good. Other people
yeah,
grow and advance. Gandalf going up against the Balrog, sacrificing himself. So a sacrifice that is noble, not nihilistic, not for no
yeah,
reason. The
yeah,
world is moving on beyond them in a positive direction, and it's sad, but like okay, end of the first Terminator movie. I don't want to. Okay, it's like 40 years old. I'll spoil it. Reese he dies. It's kind of sad. They have this love story, and he came back across time for her, and then he's dead at the end. Oh, there's that little hint of tragedy, but it's not nihilistic.
right,
It's still positive overall.
yeah, which is fine and stuff. And I'm like, um, anyway, so there's enough different kinds of stories, and I don't know if any of you saw the new Superman.
Oh yeah, I'm obviously a big Superman fan.
Yeah, but I'm a big Superman fan of the last Superman. I'm not into flawed heroes. You know, to me, it's okay for a hero to be a hero, you know, and that a person has got to have, you know, a all these flaws, and you got a drunken Thor with a big fat belly. It's like you don't need that. It's not needed. You know, it's stupid, and it's like whatever agenda that's forwarding.
Evil Thor.
You know, it's just like it's stupid. So that this old school Superman that was brought back, I think, was just awesome, and it's okay to have that. I think it's totally fine. That's what Superman is. That's how he was created, and try to make him more somehow to fit in with the sign of the times of like everything is flawed. No, we
Well,
need.
how do you make an alien more human? I mean, come on.
What's that?
I said, how do you make an alien more human? I mean, he is an alien. I mean, he's going to be different than us. So forcing him to be human just seems to be a bit, well, racist. I'm just saying, we shouldn't be treating him like that. He's not. His world didn't come from here. His brain doesn't function like ours do. Jesus. By the time we calculated thought, he's done calculated half the planet. It's just a different kind of entity. But no, I like real heroes. It's and you do see a lot of them being converted to whatever. But yeah, but at least Hollywood has learned the hard way. It doesn't pay out real well, so they started switching back the other way now.
I know it's just.
I don't know. Some of the stuff I can understand because it just helping educate children. Some of the stuff I'm kind of like, really? And whose bright idea was this? It's when you change something that you know really works, that's when you start showing your ignorance, or you just think you're better. It's like J.J. Abrams. J.J.'s a nice guy, but it doesn't matter if I'm watching Star Wars or Star Trek. I feel like I'm watching the same thing. Let's blow some shit up. And no, people don't hate on me. I like JJ, but I don't find there's the content there that I've seen from other writers, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's a fun story. I don't want to take away from the stories because they're fun stories. But in some ways, at least 3 of the Star Wars were just basically repeats of the first 3. So I was confused by that. And then and I liked Anakin. I liked Anakin as character, but I didn't feel like in the new ones there was all of that much. It was just really, let's blow some shit up. That's what it was.
Yeah.
I mean, every time I turned around, somebody's blowing something up or lightsabering something. And I'm all, kids like content too. I don't know where they think kids don't like content. Kids do. They like fun stuff, but they like to think about stuff too. Or all the old cartoons from back in the Mickey Mouse days and the Bugs Bunny days wouldn't have been as popular as they were. Because they actually make you think about shit. Today's cartoons, well, they got conjunction makes you think about your grammar and stuff. All right, I'll be nice. It's just, I don't know, man. I wonder sometimes where it's the powers that be. They don't really scan the they don't get the feel of it for the country when they change this, or for the planet that matter, because now it's a global market. I just think they think, okay, well, this sounds like a good idea. Well, let's test it on something else like Snow White. You know how much money that cost Disney?
I know that was such a stupid move on their part.
Everything they did in that thing was a disaster. You know what? I haven't seen it, people, so I can't criticize. I'm probably never going to watch it either. I'm happy with the original version of Snow White. I can deal with it.
Yeah.
But somebody told me they wanted to do a new version of Shrek. They wanted to remake the first Shrek movie. And I'm like, why? Shrek was fine. You know, my grandkids laughed their happy asses off. I was like, it was fine. It wasn't I'm off remakes sometimes, you know, after something's been around for like Firefly. They can remake Firefly. I'd be happy with that. But some things, you know, you notice they never try to remake Star Trek. They just move on to a different one. They're like, nope, it's time to move on.
Yeah.
This one served its purpose. Let's move on.
The one thing I'm curious about, so just want to check with Stephen. So this is the book that I was given as the Stephen Heumann primer. So what's a basic description of this story here? Because this is the first book. If somebody's not familiar with it, they should read this first, or what?
Well, it just kind of depends on what they're into. If you like, you know, superhero stories that are very realistic. Basically, the premise of it is, what if terrorists showed up tomorrow in New York, and instead of acting like terrorists, they acted like supervillains? And so how would the real world respond to that? And the main character is pulled into that world as the hero to their villains, but it's all fake. They're all in it together. And so it's got some really good, the whole point is to ask some really hard questions about what it means to go through a midlife crisis. It's kind of midlife crisis in extreme, as to, can you make bad decisions and have good outcomes come from them if you're risking all of the good in your life for something that's not really any better? And so that's what I wanted to hit with it. I had the idea since I was in my early 20s, and I thought this would be really interesting, and never really knew what to do with it. And I worked in TV as a writer and director for a lot of years, and I even wrote a screenplay for it. And I just was like, well, being a novelist sounded really good. It sounded good to be able to have control. Like I got used to the film world where, even as the writer and the director, it was still a team sport. The actors had control over the emotion, what they were bringing to it. And I was like, well, writing a novel sounds pretty awesome, because then I have all the control. And so I started writing Paper Heroes, and was like, and I had to learn how to write a novel because I had written screenplays and run awards and all that sort of stuff. But, screenplay is incredibly different from a novel. And it took me a while to get that. And then going through all the same stuff of critique groups and 5 years of getting any good at it before publishing Paper Heroes. And I really wanted my sci-fi to be like the old Twilight Zones that I watched as a kid. When, I grew up in Southern California, and every 4th of July and every Memorial Day, they had the big Twilight Zone marathons all day long. And we would watch them. And I love Twilight Zone because the sci-fi was always about more than what it was about. You had the story that on the surface, and you could enjoy it at that level, and that was great. But then it was saying something below that. And if you get to that level, then it really became something that was more artful. And I wanted my books to kind of do that. And so I wanted, particularly with Paper Heroes, to take that very human look at the main character, at Stuart, who's a good man and is trying to do good things, but is really kind of going through a midlife crisis, and is pulled into this whole conspiracy, and is really risking a wonderful life for something that is probably it's like you look at it, you're like, hey man, I don't know if that's the right choice. And I wanted him to be able to ask those questions and be asked those questions, but then have the audience be able to look and go, but I get why he's making the decision that he is. Like, I completely understand where he's coming from and why he's making the decisions, but I can also see that this is probably not going to end well. And that's what I wanted. And that's with all of my books. That's really kind of the focus has been to, okay, what is it really about on that deeper level that the reader can enjoy the surface level story, but then also go to a deeper level where they're like, oh, this is what it's really about. And then suddenly everything on that top layer takes on an even deeper meaning. And I love that sort of thing about really good sci-fi.
Which is great. Yeah. So you're basically sci-fi. Do you do fantasy, or is it just strictly sci-fi that you do?
I've done some fantasy adjacent stuff. I've always been, I'm a big comic book nerd, right? And action figures and that sort of stuff, superheroes. I love all of that. And what I loved about it was the sort of the world outside your window. And that's why I always gravitated more toward the sci-fi side, because I could take that world outside the window, and I could then have the flip, of the aliens arrive, or you find out something about yourself, or you're a clone, or whatever it is, and then the craziness can ensue. I've enjoyed some fantasy, like obviously I love Lord of the Rings. I love the deep world in there. But when I write, I tend to, even with my fantasy adjacent stuff, I tend to really stick to hard rules, and give everything much more of a real world feel, even if it's fantastic, even if it's on another planet, even if it's crazy. I want people to be able to walk in and see the humanity in the characters, and then see the craziness through their eyes, through that experience, so that they can really get like a ground floor walk in and look at an amazing world, or a futuristic society, or whatever it is that I'm writing, or a dream world where everything is made out of emotion, like in my Dreamforger series. I want the reader to be able to walk in that and just feel the humanity of those characters, and then be able to then experience this insane world that has sometimes completely different rules from our own, but feel very comfortable there. So I've never really gravitated much toward the fantasy side with like I'm talking about classic fantasy, like dragons and magic systems and things like that. And I think it partially is because I get my hit of that in Dungeons and Dragons. I'm a big D&D guy, and I'm the DM, and so I get my fantasy fix in that, and so it's never really bled into my writing quite so much.
Yeah, it's as you probably know, because I publish all the fiction works of L. Ron Hubbard as well as the Writers of the Future series, and Campbell, who was the editor for Astounding, but also said when he came out with his fantasy stuff that I'm reserving all of the Arabian Nights fantasy to you. So he had several books that he did that was the the Arabian Nights type stuff, where you got genies and jinns and stuff like that were that he did. But that's about the extent of. Well, the Typewriter in the Sky was another one that was a fantastical story. Is that one of the ones that you had to study, Patrick, on your?
Oh yeah.
It was
Yeah, I
Typewriter in
got
the
super
Sky, yeah.
the characters fighting back. It was great.
Yeah, and that was one of our earlier judges said that was his favorite Hubbard story, because that was the beginning of the metafiction for science fiction, was Typewriter in the Sky, where you've got like you said, the character trying to write his own story, knowing that the author was going to have him killed off at the end. So he was going to work to be able to stay alive. And it's funny with several of the stories that I published that he wrote, because he wrote them in the 30s and 40s and some in the 50s. Like somebody say, "Oh yeah, and they'll name a story that was written 30 years after, 40 years after the book was written." So this golden age. In an interview that he did after writing Battlefield Earth, Hubbard said, "Well, at the time, it wasn't a golden age. It was just a time period where it was just a bunch of raw creativity. People were just like, give him the reins. Okay, go for it." Because he was an adventure writer along with another guy named Burke that were brought in to help transform science fiction, which had just been a very sterile genre, to let's add people to it and get that going. So it was interesting how that was done. And so you start that transformation of science fiction that's more people stories and about people, and then you've got the technology that could do stuff. And so to some degree, some of these different books that were written then still hold up now, like one book called To the Stars, which was the first treatise of the time dilation theory when we re-released it in early 2000s. Entertainment Weekly reviewed and said still holds up today. It's as gritty now as it was when it was written, at that point over 50 years ago. So I think when you got people as a central part of a story, because technology right now is changing so fast that if you have the people there that are the central part of the story, it'll survive the test of time much better than when it's a technology story. Does anybody have an opinion on that?
Yeah, I think that when you're basing your book, your fiction off of, well, it's like I think that Tolkien talked about this. He's like, there's a difference between like making something a straight like one-to-one translation of something in the real world, as opposed to having it be based off of principle and character and saying, okay, this type of person is going to have this type of end. Let's tell a story about this arc. Like the ring does not represent nuclear power or nuclear weapons or anything like that, which a lot of people have been like, oh, that's what he was trying to do. And he's like, no, this doesn't mean, I'm talking about characters that are existing, and this type of person making this type of decision is going to lead down this type of path. And when we take our stories and we make it that, oh, well, it represents this, and I was writing, I was trying to make it so that this character is a representation of this person in the real world. I think that what you're doing is basically just nailing yourself down so that your story is not going to have the same meaning outside of that context. Whereas if instead you're starting with the principle and saying, okay, this is what we're writing about. We're writing about a society or about this, and it has no direct link to my real world, but it's applicable anywhere. That's where I think you have those stories that outlive themselves, that go out and a century later are still readable. Yeah. Because they're not, like Lord of the Rings is excellent because of that. It's not some allegory of the of World War II and World War I or anything like that. It's just, here's a really great story that is applicable in your life. And that's good fiction, in my opinion.
Yeah. So I'm just curious, Patrick, as you teach high school, and I remember when in my one of my high school classes, in my junior or senior year, my teacher was having me read some book which I really didn't like a whole lot, but he was trying to get me or the class to have the understanding he had of the story. He's trying to get me, do you see this? Do you see this? Instead of having us read and go like, okay, I get this. I can get this is what I get out of it. And just say, great, that's what you got out of it. So I think that's really important, that when reading a book, you can get what you realize out of it. And I see it's an interesting thing, because I had when we came up with those stories from the Golden Age, which were the short stories that were published in the 30s and 40s. And we had one story called Under the Black Ensign, which is a pirate story. And we've had, you got a hero and you got all this stuff here. And we took it to this one school in a nearby town, San Bernardino. And there were these 10th graders that had been expelled because they weren't good kids, but they were on a probationary program to come back in. And so we did a whole thing with them where we brought our stories and we had them read the story here. And this one kid asked him, and he never read it all, but he got into the book. And so after a couple hours, he said, so what'd you like about this book? He said, well, I like the part where the guy got that stick and he beat the guy over the head, and that's what he got out. He read something for the first time, but what he got out of it was his reality of what was, the story. But I found it's interesting when you try to go after preconceived what you want somebody to get out of a story instead of letting a story just do its own magic. I said, I remember that because I didn't like my teacher because of that. He was trying to get me to think a certain way about it instead of just, what'd you get out of the story? How do you deal with that with your students?
Yeah, it can be tough because there's the basic plot elements. You want them to realize what happened, and if they get those wrong, then you can't even approach the book at all. So I have to be the bad guy sometimes and say, okay, how did it start? All right, they got the ring. What happened to Gandalf? No, he did not put on the ring. Basic stuff like you'd be surprised, right? I've got stories, but once you have that, you have an example of classic science fiction. I just last week wrapped up reading Flowers for Algernon with one of my grade 12 classes, and it's such a great story. It holds up today. And what I like is that Daniel Keyes, he never really describes the procedure that Charlie Gordon undergoes to radically upgrade his intelligence. It's just some magical science stuff. And it holds up today. And it's such a great study of character.
Yeah.
And all the kids could sort of they see themselves in it. I've taught it a few years now in a row, and even though it's decades and decades old, I frequently have there's usually a girl who cries a bit. There's a few who are just, oh, I can't believe like, oh, they get so invested in this character,
That's a great
following him.
story.
And
Yeah.
it's a yeah, we just do the novella. We don't do the novel. No offense to the novel, but it's just in a class, I think it's tighter to do
Yeah.
the novella. And if you have this great character that people can sympathize with, the character will bring them along and just ask them, okay, what did you get out of it? How did it affect you? And then as long as they're backing up their opinions with something,
Yeah.
that's all I would look for. It doesn't have to be my opinion. It could be
Good. Well, that's
whatever they
cool. That
like.
makes sense. See, that's cool. That makes sense like that.
Well, yeah, but having an interpretation, like if I do, describe Hamlet's relationship with Ophelia, well, there could be 8 different interpretations of that or more. And as long as you have a logical reason for yours, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's logic. But having just one, no, that's just restricting people.
I mean, one thing too, which is unfortunate that isn't taught, at least in American schools, is that you're taught to work out the definition from the context of the sentence. And that is so wrong. It is so wrong. And so you got people that don't understand what they're reading. They don't, I'm, which is one of the reasons why I like Kindle probably better than any other thing, because you can highlight the word, and I look up a lot of words, as I'm going through a book to make sure, what's he talking about here? And sometimes I'll read something like, what? And I'll go back and I'll find, okay, what didn't I get here? And then I find some word that, okay, I didn't get that, clear it up. And then I go, that's what they're saying there. And then it makes sense. I can go through the rest of the story. So if you have misunderstood words in a story, then you're not going to know what you're reading. And so then you're going to be dubbing in all kinds of weird stuff. Like you said, Gandalf wearing the ring and then jumping into the fire of doom, and like here you got,
Just
whoa.
Yeah. Now, I mean, in my defense, I have asked questions like, hey, what does this word mean based on the context? But the kids can answer back as long as they're making a logical reason. I think this word means whatever because in the sentence he's doing this thing and that thing. Okay, you got that wrong. But logically, you're thinking, you're trying to make those logical connections. And that's what I'm looking at. So, check mark, you got that. And by the way, the clinical definition is here. And that's I guess everything I do is all logic. Make a claim about literature, back it up with evidence from the text and your own reasoning, and it's almost mathematical in a way. And you can have room for different interpretations, but as long as they're thinking, it all goes back to we were talking about the AI a while ago. The AI can supplement people's thinking, and they end up not thinking at all. But no, you just have to think. Try to think clearly, make those connections.
Yeah. So it's I mean, that's the whole thing. I'm pretty much, I own half a dozen dictionaries. Plus I use all the dictionaries on my Kindle and stuff. I'm a stickler, as everybody in this office is, on like making sure you understand what you're reading. Cause you can say for pleasure reading, I don't need to worry about that. But then if you have that same mindset on reading something technical,
Oh yeah.
then it's like, if you don't learn to distinguish, then you're going to be applying the same principle that you learned in school to technical or, heaven forbid, law. If you're reading a contract, okay, I get the idea what it means. And all of a sudden, no, that's not what you totally misinterpreted what it says. So now you've just turned over all your rights to your publisher. And so you have no rights anymore for 20 years of everything, So
Absolutely. Room for rigor, room for discipline. Sometimes you just have to know. Sometimes there's only one answer, and you just have to know that one answer.
Yeah. And then words. Anyway, words are important things. And if you're going to communicate and have duplication, then, then knowing the right definition for the word, you don't get yourself into problems where you press the red button instead of the blue button. The red button sends off the nuke.
No.
The blue button says.
Anyway, I live in LA. You shouldn't be talking about nukes, man.
Oh no, anyway, we're staying clear from politics because I'll definitely get all riled up with that.
New
They're just-
territory over
They're
there.
going quite
Yeah, it's talking
silly
about-
right now. So anyway,
I'm sorry, I was looking. Somebody was texting us, but they disappeared off the screen.
yeah.
Where'd they go?
So anyway, so I think what's really important too about this show here, the Author's Quill, is like it gives an opportunity for authors to just talk about books and for people to listen to things that are just because they're not divisive. You know, you can just talk about things and people can go like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Well, that's really cool. I didn't know. Yeah, I like science fiction, or I like fantasy, or I like, oh, I didn't know that about Gandalf and Lord of the Ring, or whatever it is. People can get a chance just to like have, in this case, 2 hours of just something that isn't divisive, isn't attacking. It's just a straight, you know, a good thing in life, something that people can appreciate and enjoy. And like, I want to check that out. And the show continues to grow. I remember we were on first a couple years ago, and we were just under 50,000 listeners when the show started, and now we're ready to break 4 million listeners per episode.
We're close.
Yeah. You know,
Yeah,
so I think
really
it shows how much people like this type of programming, you know. So
it does well everywhere else. It does well on Rumble and YouTube and other places. So it's there's a need for it. I mean, there's actually, to be honest with you, there's a lot of author shows out there. It's just a lot of them are just, well, see, we do everybody. So it doesn't matter what genre, you know, we just do everybody. But sometimes they get stuck, or it's paranormal, ufology, or something like that. But they only seem to want to do one thing. Which I need constant entertainment. So I need everything. I need everything. So I'm like a big spoiled baby. Look, because I don't get time to read anymore. So I either need it through television or audiobooks, because audiobooks are a big deal for me. Because I do drive a lot, so I can listen to them. Because I like listening to music, but sometimes I'd rather listen to an audiobook when I'm on the road. It's more fun for me, especially the ones that are done old radio style. I really enjoy those.
Like the ones we do, yeah.
Yeah, I like those. Those are nice. They're fun. So I can get into those. It's just hard for me. Like, I'm in the studio right now. I couldn't just sit here and spend 2 or 3 hours reading a book. I not being in my house, I'd have to be getting on one of the computers. And so I'd end up with the book on the side of me, bumping around the computer, going back and reading a page or two. And then I end up losing my way through the story because my mind is too focused on whatever else I'm doing. So audiobooks are the way for me. I can plug in an earbud and go to typing and do whatever. I've even caught myself from time to time when I was writing out skits or scripts and stuff, putting in part of what I was listening to. I stopped one day and I'm reading them like, Jesus, Jerry. I mean, I put in like 5 or 6 paragraphs of what I was listening to on the show, whatever show I was listening. I was just typing it away. It's like shit. But I was enjoying it. So that's how I got through Mission Earth. John had sent me by a lot of time. Took me a damn year to listen to the whole thing.
Again, I'll be back in like 2 minutes.
It was 10 books, 48 hours. That's a listen there, man. That's plus it comes with all the bells and whistles and voices. It's just a lot of fun to listen to.
That's a time commitment for sure.
It is. But what I do, see, like every year we do Battlefield, we do War of the Worlds, the original War of the Worlds, you know, the one that everybody freaked out on with Orson Welles, all the commercials in it, the whole 9 yards, just like it was aired originally back in the day. We play Battlefield Earth, and we play Mission Earth. So all 3 of those will run for the whole week between leading up to Christmas and leading up to New Year's. They'll play in those slots in the evening times or in the daytimes. And so you can listen to like 8 hours a day during the holidays. And we just put them on there and people listen to them. You'll come by and you'll look at the server. There'll be 100,000 people just listening to the story. And we even do, I've been doing Scrooge the last 5 years too. I forgot. It's one of the original, I think it's the original theatrical version I put on. So I let it play through. So, I mean, you can watch them too. Well, you can't the audiobooks, but the other ones you can actually watch too. So it's kind of strange. People enjoy them. I don't know where I get that old radio stuff from, because you know there was TV when I was growing up. Not a lot of it, but there was some. I think that when I first time turned on television, they had 1 channel on it, and then I remember there was 3. I was like, wow, 3.
Well, there's something about radio and about those old radio dramas, because you get to picture it in your head, right? Yeah. Whereas TV, it's all presented, and that's great. But when you've got an audiobook or you've got one of those old teleplays and you're just listening to it, you're able to just craft this image in your brain and it becomes your own personal interpretation, which I think creates something. It creates more of an emotional connection, at least for me, with that sort of stuff. So I get why you have that like love for it, because I feel the same way.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I think it's because my mom used to like to pipe in stuff. We had all the homes we ever owned had intercom systems in them, and it was either pumping easy listening through it, which made me want to kill her, or she'd be doing some kind of like documentary, something, I don't know, just some type of documentary she'd be letting it go through, like an audiobook of some sort. I don't think they called them audiobooks back then, though. And some kind of play or something. She'd just let it play. I was like, so then I said, well, thank you, Mom. Now I can't sleep without noise in the background. Thank you very much for that. And I was like, but when you're living in the city, see, here it's different. It's really, this house I have here in the studio, it is really quiet here. There's a highway night even. There's a bayou and a highway. And you can't hear any of it. It was raining so hard last night, my trees and my garden was pushing over. You couldn't even hear it in the house. It's just really, really, really quiet. So Stevie, you plan on doing any signing or anything, getting in any trouble, getting out in the public, or?
Oh yeah, in 2 weeks we have the big FanX Salt Lake Comic Con here in Salt Lake.
I was wanting to.
Yeah, it's a wonderful show. I've been friends with the owners for a long time, and so I always have a booth there and sign and meet fans and stuff. And it's one of my favorites just because I can get on the train and I can get right downtown, and so it's really easy to go to. But it's also got this great local flip fair, and obviously Salt Lake is a really geeky place, and so we get a huge population of people there just having a good time. And I love conventions because for me it's always been a very inclusive space. It's been a place where everybody can be, every type of fandom. If you like fantasy, if you like manga, if you like comic books, if you like movies, whatever it is, there's something there for you. And so I love that sort of energy of everybody just being like, it doesn't matter, you're the biggest nerd, you've got your bros there, you've got the people that love you there. And
we sell more books at that show than any show that we attend. There's been because we've had 3 of our judges there from Utah. Dave Farland obviously passed away, but Brandon Sanderson and Orson Scott Card, who was originally from there. So we've had so many winners from UVU and from BYU and from just all around the area. There's we've got more winners per capita from Utah than any other place in the U.S. And we do really well there with contest entries. And we usually have a winner every year from Utah, either writer or an illustrator. So it's great. And like I said, we sell more books at that show than Dragon Con, than San Diego Comic Con, than Tampa Comic Con, the other places we've gone to.
Yeah, you need to work them girls. They're looking a little chunky, man.
Joe,
tell them I said,
Joe, I'm canceling my invitation for you to come to Salt Lake City FanX.
I'm gonna come up there and tell
it's for your own good, because you're going to get sliced and diced.
I'm gonna say, look, I'm a guy. I can be chunky. So that's how it works. Guys can even get to be old. See, but it's cool to be a guy. Girls, unfortunately, they're too easy to torture. It's especially them two. Oh Lord, Christopher, what are you talking? I was talking about Miss Emily and Miss Sarah.
Yeah, they're going to be at FanX this year.
Yeah.
And then, so I'll be, because Stephen and I are going to be doing a podcast interview at FanX. We'll finalize what time it's going to be. But I'm looking forward to that.
It's always a fun. I've been there twice. Twice. It's always fun. It's matter of fact, that's where my lightsaber connection came from.
Yeah.
I love that show. I mean, I love New York Comic Con too, because I find that in New York, it's not as geek friendly as Salt Lake is, and so the people who go to that show, they really love being geeks, and so I love that show too, because there's such a fun energy there. But yeah, I love going to the shows, and I love talking to people, and I love going to shows like FanX where they appreciate books and they appreciate kind of disappearing into stories. And I love that you guys, because I sell a ton there too. It's one of those shows that people come by, they see the books and they want them, and they want to go on those adventures. And there's something about when you got a population of people who love to read. It's like, those are my people, right?
Exactly.
It's a great thing, yeah.
We'll sell upwards in those 3 days. We'll sell upwards of 1,000 books. It's crazy what we do.
They're talking about FanX, guys. In case you don't know. John just got back from Dragon Con. They were up there partying down and stuff.
Yeah, that went great. And it's unfortunate. There's a Comic-Con also up in Canada. It's in the one that's happening shortly. It's the Toronto. Is it called the Toronto Comic-Con, Patrick?
I think they will sometimes call it Fan Expo. Toronto.
Yeah.
They have different things there.
Unfortunately, they're not very author friendly, and that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because we like going up there. It's just, they don't, because we try to work it out. We can get our judges and get our winners there, and they're just like, eh. And even our Canada judges don't like the show because they're not friendly. They're wanting to be able to have the celebrities where they can sell the big ticket, autographs and photo ops, and and that's cool. It's his own thing here, but it's like,
is it movies, TV, anime, even pro wrestling? Believe it or not, you can get your picture taken with a lot of pro wrestlers, and I mean that's cool. People love it, but it kind of squeezes out the space for if you want to have books and stuff. I get it.
They got the cosplay players up there.
Oh, there's tons.
Yeah,
I know for most of the conferences I see them at now, there's lots of them. I'm kind of like, wow. It's I was interviewing some last time I was in Atlanta. It was an interesting group of people I talked to. I don't know, but we got to go because I got to go eat because I got to be on a next show in 25 minutes. So we got to get out of here. Guys, nice seeing y'all on the show. I hope to see y'all soon. I can't wait. Somebody's got a bestseller out there. So when you're out in the Hollywood thing, I can come bug you. Hey, look.
Thanks for having me.
Trust me, I call in on these favors, man. Ask anybody I know that gets famous. I'm like, remember me?
Well, this has been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
No, it's
nice
great,
talking to you, Stephen. I look forward to seeing you in about a week and a half.
That'll be great. I'll see you then, John.
Yeah, and we'll email or whatever, so we've got a time that we can just schedule and do this thing here.
That works. I love it.
Okay, great. Thanks. And thank you very much, Patrick. Good to see you again. And
wonderful. Thank you.
And look forward to more. Where's your next bookstore event? You've got another bookstore signing coming up.
A couple of weeks, I will be in Waterloo, Ontario, in Conestoga Mall, Indigo, signing books there. And then a week after, I'll be in Burlington, and then back to Cambridge and Kitchener. And
are these listed anywhere? Do you have these listed anywhere?
They will be soon. I don't want to say them all here because I know I'm going to jumble them all together. I'm a little tired. But the one September 28th, Sunday, 1 to 4 p.m., that's in Waterloo, Ontario, Conestoga Mall, Indigo. Good. I'll be there signing Writers of the Future. I'll be here with this book right here.
Awesome book. Awesome book.
That'd be great.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much, Patrick.
Book tour going on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, so long, gents.
Anyway, guys and girls, we got to go. And thank everyone for tuning in to United Public Radio and the author's Quill. Yes, John, I know. Sorry, the other John from Pal Talk. Yes. It's the Geek Squad show. Okay, we'll start calling it that. We do geek out sometimes. I can't deny that. Sometimes we even get into sci-fi conversations. But anyway, again, I want to thank everyone for tuning in to the Author's Quill United Public Radio. And come see me on the chat in about 20 minutes, guys. I'll be over there wreaking havoc. I'm sure we'll be talking about stuff we shouldn't be talking about because, of course, we let the audience pick the topics on that show. Oh my God. So anyway, I want y'all to stay tuned for the chat. And then until then, have some fun and enjoy yourself. Remember, this archive will be available in less than 15 minutes. So be sure to check it out. Good night, everybody. Dun, 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 dun.